What's the order of things?
So we will be in we are entering into the Syndicate recommendation time, and then more of the announcement about WJEC in general will be done tonight at 4 p.m. during a closing moment where we will be also awarding some certificates. And Joe Foote will introduce Robin and the Syndicate recommendations.
Thank you, Pascal. Those of you who are veteran WJEC attendees know that one of the unique aspects of this Congress is the syndicates and their work. It was from the beginning in 2007 in Singapore a huge success, this opportunity of people to gather in small groups and then return again with sometimes changed attitudes, changed people in some ways. And by the end of this process, fast friends working together across many nationalities to tackle a very real problem. So thank you to all of you who have participated in these syndicates, contributed to them, and keeping them strong at WJEC. The person behind all of this, the woman who has engineered the syndicate success for the past 4 WJECs, is Robin Goodman, and she deserves an incredible amount of thanks. This is her baby, and I would like to call Robin forward to announce the syndicate outcomes.
Thank you, everybody. Hey, thank you. Where's my PowerPoint? Does anybody see it? Oh! How am I supposed to see it? Oh, man. Okay, all right. We'll make this work, because I'm the one who's moving these dots, too. So maybe I'll need, Sophie, are you here? Maybe I need this one. You guys having a good conference? Can you hear me in here? Are you having a good conference? Yay! I'm very happy. Okay. All right, so, oh, thank you. Okay, I do have them here, yay. All right, so syndicates, what they, in a nutshell, we will send you all the PowerPoint. If you want it, we'll post it, you'll see everything. But in a nutshell, the syndicates are just a way for you guys to meet in small groups with people really interested in your topic and to sit around the table where everyone's from another country, basically. And when we started the WJEC, this was just such an exciting experience. Even the board members sitting together, what do you think, United States? What do you think, Italy? What do you think, China? What do you think? So you guys now have the opportunity to do that with syndicates. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. We worked hard on the program, and we're going to have the presenters come up in a minute, the rapporteurs, to tell you just some really quick results. Please forgive me if the font's not the same or somebody's name is squeezed somewhere. We erred on the side of just getting you the content, at least the top 3 recommendations. Each rapporteur will write a full report, a couple pages long, that will probably give you more recommendations and more insight, so look for those on the WJEC net page. That will help you out too. But more to come. That's a promise. All right, let's see if I can do this. Yay. It took a global village to put this together. All right, let's see. Oh, so that's me, and I want to have a hand for Alani Stein is my co-chair. By the way, this is going out live on YouTube, so that's pretty cool. And Imran Hasnet is our associate, and without them for the last, 3 or 4 WJECs, the syndicates wouldn't be happening because they're the right hand on everything. So I'm hoping we could give them some applause. And let's... They had visa issues, so couldn't be here, but they were really bummed about it. Want you guys to know that they just hope you have a wonderful experience. And then, of course, it took the team, Pascal and Sophie, and my interpreter, Paul, to be here to help with the slides. So the whole conference wouldn't be happening without them. So let's hear it for these guys. And they help so much on the syndicates as well. They've been really amazing to work with. In a minute, you're going to see all the experts, chairs, rapporteurs, and you're also going to see all the members, because we couldn't do it without you guys. We have our 3 officers for each. There's about 20 in each group. And basically, what we're trying to do, again, is you work together like this in small groups, see what people are doing around the world, get best practices, and then report back to the world community what you've learned from each other, share it, and hopefully there'll be more research sort of things going on, right? Okay, all right, thank you, Felix. So all syndicate officers, I'd like you guys, anyone who is involved in the syndicates in any way, whether you're a member, an officer, you help put something together, please stand up, and let's hear it for you guys. Everybody stand up. It couldn't happen without you. Yeah. Woo! You guys are amazing. What you're doing for the field is amazing. So thank you so much. And just so you could see really quickly who some of the main folks are, please forgive me if I wasn't able to get all the latest list of names of syndicates. Some of you were moving around a little bit, but we'll get it right for the report. But here's some of the main members for Ethics Without Borders. And why don't we have the members of the first 6 syndicates come on up? The rapporteurs will be reporting for you. So why don't you all 6 come on up? We'll see if we can get you in order there, and you'll be doing your spiel. They're doing for about 3 minutes each. Yeah, these guys are amazing. So they're the ones taking the notes and making sure this information gets out. So that's going to be amazing. And they're not going to read the questions, but the question or the answers, you can look at those on your own. But they're going to come up and do a little routine, and that's it. All right, we've got 12 of them, and then we'll send you off to lunch, and hopefully everyone will have a good time. Okay, guys, so Liz, come on up.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, I feel very honored to be able to represent our group. I wanted to say that it was very difficult for us to come up with recommendations, which makes total sense for people talking about ethics. Okay, 15 international journalists go into a bar to discuss recommendations of teaching ethics, and 150 come out. You do the math. There are many journalisms, and we know, actually across cultures, that the questions are just as important as the answers. And so, while we did come up with a number of recommendations, have a framework for thinking about the issues, and talk about ethical principles, and keep in mind that those are different across cultures, and have values like truth, truth-telling, and on from there, we did feel like there was so much to say that we would interpret it as we go. So, as we think about ethics, listen to each other, and ask questions. Thank you.
Okay, so let's have our next person up here. Rapporteur for data journalism and computational.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to just walk you very briefly through the discussions we had over the past 2 days. I'm going to jump right ahead with the first recommendation, that is numeracy or data literacy. We think students and young journalists need to be brought up to speed as to questioning data as a source, questioning what's in front of them, knowing which questions to ask data. For example, what's the sample size, what population the sample was drawn from, but also knowing about variables, knowing what's a median, what's a mean, and what's an average, and what this all means, right? In general, we think we need to introduce a foundational level of numeracy or data literacy and an understanding of the related vocabulary. The second recommendation is computational thinking that builds on these skills, but it is a developing mindset. It doesn't mean thinking like a computer, but thinking with a computer in mind. So we consider it elemental for emerging journalists to acknowledge what computation can do and the value of data. And we need to build workflows around that which can help us do data-driven news work. It's not so much about knowing what an algorithm, we need to know what an algorithm is. We don't need to know how to write an algorithm. And we need to know how to express this to a coder with who we are ideally collaborating with. It's knowing about computers and that they work with ifs and ands and how this can help us in doing data-driven news work. The third recommendation is translating numbers into a piece of journalism that audiences actually understand. So we talked a lot about conversion. What's the best way to present data as an interactive visualization? Sometimes it may be just 3 words that represent data adequately. And then as a closing remark, it's not only data journalists and journalists in general that need to adapt to constantly changing technology, but it's also us, the teachers, who need to constantly adapt and learn about these new emerging technologies. And also, we were talking a lot about the 6 Ws of journalism, and that also data journalists use this concept to interrogate data. So we're happy to report that data journalism is still journalism at its core. Thank you.
I would like to know how passionate you are about being here at WJEC. Okay, so think about how passionate you have been about being here, and then think about our group, who was the passionate group. And that room was filled with so much energy about our field and what we think needs to be changed and how to think about things differently. How many of you listened to the students who were here in the room in the last hour? Okay, so one of the things that they talked about was this. They didn't say it, but they talked about that box that we automatically put them in and what we're presenting to them. Well, what our group decided to do was to get rid of it. We physically wanted to get rid of that box and not start there. These students told us that they want us to listen to them and not to go ahead and tell them exactly what to think from the start. And we really wanted to make sure that one of our recommendations was to start with no constraints. We really need to rethink this. And there's this thing called just-in-time skills. There are certain times when those skills need to be incorporated into the curriculum. We have got to make sure that they understand, and we've got to understand who they are and listen to them before we put them in any kind of box. Also, the term failure, we wanted to get rid of that. We need to unthink that and think about the words experiment. Let them experiment, have some freedom to experiment before we fail them and give them a failing grade and stop their creativity and their thought process. We need to listen to them and give them that freedom. The third recommendation is many of us have projects in our classroom, but what do they want to do? We need to promote more passion projects and get them excited. It's passion. We are passionate about our profession. If we want them to be passionate, we have to let them experiment and do things through engagement. We have these terms: engagement, experiential learning, learning by doing. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do more of that and promote it and quit putting them in this box? Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm presenting the next syndicate about entrepreneurial journalism, and the challenge was how we teach innovation, how we nurture an entrepreneurial mindset. Working in small teams like a World Cafe, we break down the initial question in more specific questions: why we teach, how we teach, what should we teach, and who are responsible to teach entrepreneurial journalism. So we came up with 3 recommendations. The first is that we recognize that many educators in journalism lack of an experience, entrepreneurial experience. So we said why they should not take advantage of the many free resources and then focus on the mentoring and coaching aspects in their own capacity. And at the same time, why not invite other people who are more experts, like media entrepreneurs, that they could be part of their teams as faculty members, as guest lecturers, or as residents in the university. That was the first recommendation. Then we moved to the next one. All right. Now, the second one is how we cultivate an entrepreneurial mindset. And we thought that it's important that the programs should start early, include entrepreneurial journalism as early as possible. Why? Because you need time to cultivate the spirit, but then also to give the students the opportunity to test their knowledge in real life by implying human-centered design, the design thinking process, and also to experiment and learn how to iterate an idea as they develop it. And then we said, okay, are we going to do this by ourselves as educators? And then, is that enough just to invite people in our campuses? And then we said, no, we are part of an ecosystem. And as an ecosystem of innovators, then we should learn and collaborate with the people who are actually the shapers of the media entrepreneurship. So we should work with them, work with specific projects, develop products and startups, and also consider ourselves that we should learn from real life, real media entrepreneurs, have a good sense what's going on around the world, not only on our own community, while serving our community or undeserved communities. So that was it in a nutshell. Thank you so much.
Hello from Syndicate 5. Any students in here today? No? Anyway, we heard them talking this morning, and I have to say that Syndicate number 5 has the answer to you. We accept the challenge. We said yesterday, and here are our recommendations. We need a new teaching reality. We need to create a new teaching model for our students. We do not own knowledge. We want to share knowledge. We want to become co-learners with our students. In this perspective, we accept the challenge to create a new form, a new model, the model of hybrid educator in journalism. Thank you very much.
Hello. So Syndicate 6 faced the daunting challenge of preparing students for the problem of the post-truth age and how to restore the public's faith in facts and its trust in journalists. So among an incredible number of great recommendations, I wish I could share more than 3, number 1 was teaching our students how to interact more creatively and constructively with audiences and communities, with a special focus on communities that have been misrepresented or underrepresented in journalism. And our students must be taught how to detect misinformation, malinformation, disinformation, and combat them in the day-to-day practice of journalism. Students also have to learn how to learn how people receive and process information. That means our students should be hearing more about cognitive biases, how people become resistant to facts, and how to present information in ways less likely to activate those biases. I hope these recommendations will be really helpful to you in your teaching.
So, off with you guys. Thank you so much. doing a full report for us, so we'll see more. Let's have the next 6. And we'll send you guys off to lunch. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Hi there. Ours was about global international collaborations and how that might help our students become better international reporters. And we decided early on that that was actually the wrong question we'd set ourselves. It's not just about international reporters. Those of you who were at the climate crisis reporting panel the other day will be very conscious of what came out of there. The global is local and the local is global. And the problems that we set our communities have their roots in the global sphere. So it was important that why this is a principle in journalism education is because we feel that students need to have that global, that cultural understanding and cognizance. Also, it's a means to an end, these collaborations. It's not an end in itself. So that's why they have to have clear outcomes, and we have to know what the particular purpose is. And we set out a number of ideas and outcomes that would be appropriate. But in designing them, those of you who heard the students this morning, one strong message that came across from them is that they want to be very much part of their learning process, and exactly that's the case. That's critically important. So if we're going to make these projects work, the students have to have ownership. Student-centered, student-led. We work together and we collaborate. That's also got a very pragmatic purpose because it means right at the start, students in one country are starting to engage with students in the other countries. They're meeting each other and talking to each other and together deciding what the project is about, what they're going to go for, and why they're going to come out with it. And the other thing is the ethical foundation for this. This is the bit that answers the questions, not how we do it and what we're doing, but why we're doing it. Building trust is critically important, so we need to design these projects in a way where the students can start to trust each other, learn to trust each other, and work together in a collaborative way. And the outcomes, what is journalism for? What kinds of stories are we doing? The last speaker at this platform said one of the important things for access voices that go unheard. We're having a conversation, some of us in the splendid town hall last night. I want to say, why is it the senior journalists go to take down what the prime ministers and presidents are saying? The important journalism is going to see the people whose lives, communities, worlds are being affected by what the presidents and prime ministers are doing with them. And those are the kind of people that those are the kind of voices that our students should be bringing to the fore in these sessions. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Hi. Our team was looking at assessment and accreditation, but through the conversation it rather quickly became evident that not all universities are accredited or journalism programs are accredited, and accreditation could mean very different things for different types of universities. So we actually switched to what was accreditation about, which was quality assurance and making sure that students are getting what they need when they graduate to be competent professionals. So we changed to effectively look at how assessment should be designed and used to help educators or faculty, first of all, to improve their teaching, curriculum and learning environments, and also to help students so that they have the support, the feedback to become better self-directed learners. So our first recommendation was about creating assessment that gives students what they need as graduates, and this was 3 areas. One was knowledge, as demonstrated through critical thinking, understanding of media. The second is about those practical skills in terms of being journalists, doing journalist work. And then third, a level of professionalism or developing professional identity to become independent creative practitioners. The second recommendation related to having clearly defined and articulated learning outcomes so that we know what the program is aiming to achieve overall. And within that, that allows mapping at each different level of individual courses throughout the program so we can see that there is this progressive development in students of understanding skills and competencies. And if students aren't reaching those, then we know to adjust our program to make sure that they are achieving those progressively. And also that students themselves have a sense of what it is they're meant to achieve, what level they're meant to achieve, what is a developing level of achievement versus passing level versus outstanding, and they themselves can then improve based on that kind of feedback. And then the final one is about including different stakeholders in developing program outcomes. So it can be that at some universities, middle-level management come up with these fabulous program learning outcomes that are separated from what faculty or educators are actually doing. So we need educators, industry representatives, students and other stakeholders being consulted. Now, consultant doesn't mean we necessarily always follow the dictates of industry, but it means that we take their opinions and developments that are happening in industry into account, and we as educators and the program more generally will grow and progress because of that.
Maloele Nisimbola Tena Koto Kato, greetings to you all from some of the languages of the Pacific. You know you've had a good conference when you're losing your voice because you've had so many great conversations with people. And so this is going to be short. Inclusion and collaboration are more than words. They are a commitment. You either believe that the quality of journalism contributes to the quality of society, or you don't. We can't have quality journalism without accuracy and fairness. We can't have accuracy without representation and diversity. We can't have fairness if we are exploiting or abuse the communities we work with. I volunteered to be the rapporteur for Syndicate 9 because as a community broadcaster, I'm passionate about inclusion and collaboration. As the people in the syndicate who were practitioners, educators from a wide range of experience, most, if not all, had industry experience. Identified the key issues, offered practical classroom strategies to foster cross-cultural communication and encourage empathy. I realized that I was surrounded by people who had been working to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion for years. Returning to our theme, teaching journalism in a disruptive age. As one of the syndicate expressed it, we are in the midst of a reckoning, and journalists are being asked to justify themselves and their roles and the role of journalism. And our recommendations are a call to action for us to take responsibility and commit to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
All right, thank you. First, I want to start off by saying that Syndicate 10 was absolutely fabulous. And so please do go online to see the members when the list is updated, because I do want to give them credit. They were an energetic group. They had brilliant ideas. They expressed freely. And so it was a really dynamic group, and I loved it. And of course, Phyllis Skolem as the Syndicate chair, and also the expert Desiree Hill, they were really fantastic in terms of facilitating the sessions. And so it was a great experience. Just to give you a bit about the process, first we came together as a group, we brainstormed ideas, and then we separated into small groups. And by doing that, they were able to narrow down the ideas that we had expressed. And then we came back together as a group, and we ended up with these 3 recommendations. So the first one, we really believe that there is a lack of training in academia to prepare future journalists for covering and dealing with trauma and the aftermath of trauma. And so our first recommendation is that the training draws on theory and practice, and also stresses the safety of individuals, the security of information, and also the well-being of individuals. For example, you can engage in experiential learning or role-playing can take place, where simulations of traumatic events are carried out. And perhaps instructors could also ask actors in their drama department, if you do have one at your university or college, to take part in the simulations. Psychologists could also be tapped to help students understand how debriefing should take place with journalists following a traumatic event. The second recommendation that we make is that substantive solutions and resources be provided to students. Recent graduates who might have encountered traumatic events as journalists could be invited back to the university college to take part in this discussion and give advice. Peer support networks could also be set up for students, or maybe even for working journalists, in order to help them deal with some of the emotional and physical struggles that they might be dealing with after covering a traumatic event. And then third recommendation is to strive to normalize trauma coverage by defining terms and coming up with protocols on how to prepare for such coverage. A connection between educators and industry professionals could be established where they work together to destigmatize individuals dealing with post-traumatic stress symptoms. We really think that the message needs to come across clearly that it is okay to feel the way they are feeling. Also, teach students that they need to be sensitive to those impacted by traumatic events and provide students with a deep understanding of why this is important. We firmly believe as a group that there needs to be structural and cultural shifts in how we deal with and view trauma within the journalism profession. And we also believe that as university and college professors, we are the ones who can make this happen. So thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. We are almost 20 years into the new century and into the new millennium, and it's clear by now that it's not a matter of whether we should address gender and diversity issues in the classroom and in journalism classes, but how. It is hard. There's not an easy way. There was not an easy answer or some kind of recipe that everybody can follow, but it's clear that this has to be discussed, this has to be addressed, and we have to take our words into action. In most of our countries, from what we were seeing, females outnumber males in journalism classes, and it's been like that for many, many years. So it's not a matter of just, oh, let's just paint a quick picture about this or something like that. This is something that has to be discussed. This has to be across curriculum, ideally as well as a standalone class. This is like ethics. We address, it's part of doing journalism, and by now it should be clear that good journalism is indeed gender-sensitive journalism. So we have to put our words into action, and that includes training and orientation, not only for students, but also for faculty members. Not all of us are prepared to deal with these issues. Not all of us are knowledgeable about this, but especially those who are in leadership positions can actually do a lot to promote this. Some of us have to include diversity statements, for example, in our syllabi. How about we start accounting for those and actually requesting people for, I don't know, in evaluations to, okay, what did you do to promote or to teach gender and diversity issues for gender equality and all of that? And that means to actually put resources into this, resources in terms of time, resources in terms of people, and yes, resources in terms of money. So those of you who have discretionary funds, maybe you could use them for good purposes. Thank you.
Kia koutou, talofa lava. Again, warm Pacific greetings from Syndicate 12, lucky last. Our first recommendation is somewhat of a challenge, actually, to all of us here as journalism educators to walk the talk around inclusive practice. That to be effective teachers in this space, we need to start by educating ourselves, learning about our own biases, learning the gaps in our own knowledge that we can help our students to combat stereotype and understand better practice. In order to do that, we felt that the WJEC was a fantastic forum, actually, for helping to share best practice. Many members of our syndicate shared some fantastic examples of great inclusive practice, great resources, the Human Library, for instance, virtual student exchanges, and we felt it was really important that there was that we could help to build a database where we can share resources, share innovative practice, and help each other to learn about the different practice around the world. Related to that, which will be one of our other recommendations, not on this list, was setting up an award, actually, for best practice and innovative practice in this space, because I do think that we felt that we really need to champion good leadership in this area. And of course, good practice must be evidence-based. And we had a lot of talk in our syndicate about the need for more research. Research that helps us to put data and evidence in front of our students to help them understand the need for inclusive practice, but also research that helps fill some of the gaps in our knowledge. I know in the Pacific, for instance, there's not a lot of research around representations and media content in the Pacific. And also that if we include our students in that research process, that we can do more to help them develop the critical skills that they will need to combat stereotypes in their own work. Thank you very much.
Okay, just a couple comments and we'll get out of here. So let's save our applause to the very end and then have a really good one. What do you think? Then we'll just knock this place. We'll knock out the lights. But you guys can stay here for a minute. Don't be shy. You can stay a minute. Anyway, one more time, I wanted to thank, so let's save our applause to the end. I wanted to thank the rapporteurs that are on the stage and the ones in here for doing this final report and coming up here when they're really tired and exhausted and doing their presentation. And I wanted to thank Joe Foote, who has always really believed in the syndicates and has been behind them 100% and helped them be what they are today. He's been a true inspiration. I want you to know that, let's see, you're going to be able to find this PowerPoint here at WJEC Net and hopefully at the WJEC Paris site. And there'll be full reports by the rapporteurs, hopefully an article in a scholarly journal. That's what we've done in the past. And these should also be online. So keep an eye open for them. And also, if you're interested in doing a syndicate at the next WJEC, that's something you might want to do. There's going to probably be another call for syndicate ideas. So if you're interested, get involved. You can always ask me what's going on. Often we don't get on the syndicates for a little while, closer to the 3 years, because we want to do the hot topics. But you can email me anytime, ask me what's going on with syndicates. That's great. And finally, I wanted to thank everybody that has been involved in the syndicates in any way at all, and that's most of us in this room. So I think we should all clap for ourselves because we've done a great job. Yay! Good job, everybody. It's been a pleasure. And Pascal, is he going to come up to have a few words to the next event or anything? Or are we all set? That's it? We're going to go eat something and look at our schedules? Okay, thank you for coming, everyone. Have a great time. Rest of your conference. Thank you.